Alright, so Mel Kiper released his most recent mock draft and it's littered with mistakes. What should he have done with the Eagles' picks? And the Dallas Cowboys are making it known which Philly pick terrifies them the most. Plus, the New York Giants had a really tough go yesterday as it looks like multiple players may be holding out. But first, let's run it. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great Thursday. It's crazy to believe we are 2 weeks from the NFL draft. If you're new, I'm Josh Davis and I cover the Birds. So make sure to like, subscribe, turn the notifications on so you're caught up to date on all the latest Eagles news. Lane Johnson was seen working out for the first time since his surgery to repair the adductor. Lane Johnson had the surgery after the Super Bowl, and we see here from the orthopedics physical therapy in Oklahoma, which is where Lane Johnson obviously is from. You see the video, it's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't think a guy that size should be able to make those movements, and yeah, you could say, hey, that's not a whole lot, but remember, he just had surgery, so he's coming off of that, and the fact that he can be this limber and make those types of movements, gotta remember, the guy has not given up a sack since 2020, so with his work ethic, the ability to recover like he has here, probably will keep that streak going on for quite some time, but really exciting to see. Moving on, talking about Mel Kiper and his latest mock draft. So for the 10th pick, he has the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle or guard out of Northwestern. He says here, this could be a spot for an edge rusher, but Philadelphia can keep a strength by taking Skoronski. With right guard Isaac Seumalo departing in free agency, there's an opening, and many NFL talent evaluators believe Skoronski has all-pro potential if he moves inside. He started 33 games at left tackle in college, but his arms are slightly shorter than average for a tackle. The Eagles lost both of their starting safeties this offseason, but they could find at least one replacement on day 2 of the draft. What Mel doesn't end up mentioning is who was available, and it's Tyree Wilson. So you take a look there, the Arizona Cardinals, obviously he did a mock trade with the Titans, but Tyree Wilson was available at 11. And again, if you're going to give me the choice between a Tyree Wilson or a Peter Skoronski on that draft, I'm taking Tyree Wilson. I don't think that that's a very hard decision to be made. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you guys agree? Do you think Peter Skoronski is the right play, or do you take a Tyree Wilson? Because remember, Tyree Wilson has been mocked as high as 3 for some mock drafts. That's probably a little bit high, but still 4, 5, 6 as a Tyree Wilson. If he's available at 10, to me, it's a slam dunk. You absolutely take Tyree Wilson. Maybe I'm wrong. To me, Mel Kiper got that one completely off. But let's take a look at 30. So if we look at what Mel had here, he has the Eagles trading. And so at 29, Kalijah Cansey went off the board. And so then Mel says there's a ton of value in trading back in round 1 to take a player to get his 5th-year option. We've seen it twice with quarterbacks in the past decade, with the Ravens trading up for Lamar Jackson and the Vikings doing it for Teddy Bridgewater. Teams want to have that controllable 5th season. That's exactly what this deal is for the Seahawks, who might have competition to move up. To make this deal happen, I'll project Seattle to give up both its second-round picks, number 37 and 52. That seems pretty fair. So that means Philly moves down 7 picks but adds prime selection on day 2 and still owns number 62. So let's fast forward here to number 37. And who does Mel Kiper have the Eagles taking? Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. He says, here's the first selection from my projected trade at the end of round 1. And it just feels right. Gibbs is a dynamic receiver out of the backfield. He caught 44 passes last season. He could split time with free agent signing Rashad Penny and Kenneth Gainwell and be an easy outlet for quarterback Jalen Hurts. Plus, the Eagles have 2 more second-round picks to add talent. I agree. I think if Jahmyr Gibbs is available here at 37, that's a great pick. I'm all in favor of it. I don't know that he's going to be available at that point. I feel like he's going to fall much earlier, but perhaps if Bijan Robinson doesn't go as early as what people think, then maybe it makes a little bit more sense the fact that a running back or a run on running backs doesn't happen. To me, this seems a little bit unrealistic, but I'll give it a thumbs up, at least in the sense of you got a Jahmyr Gibbs. Wasn't in favor of the first pick. Jahmyr Gibbs kind of saves you. Moving on to number 52, Mel Kiper has Derek Hall, the outside linebacker from Auburn. And here he says, I focus on offense with the first 2 Philadelphia picks, but I'm going to switch to defense for these next 2. We know general manager Howie Roseman loves to replenish his defensive line through the draft, and the Eagles love their D-line rotation. Hall could be a situational pass rusher as a rookie. He had 16 sacks over the past 2 seasons, who develops into a starting edge defender. Veterans Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett won't be around forever. True, they're not going to be around forever, but I don't know if you're going to take a Derek Hall in this situation. I'm not totally against it, but there's a guy, again, like I mentioned with the Peter Skoronski situation, that I would have taken instead. If you look at the very next pick, the Chicago Bears at 53 took B.J. Ojulari. And if I got the option between an Ojulari or a Derek Hall, I'm taking Ojulari. 9 times out of 10, give me that selection. Especially at 52, it feels like a little bit of a steal. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Perhaps you guys consider Derek Hall the better pick here, but to me, I feel like it's a big miss again for BJ Ojulari, and you've already made the miss on the Tyree Wilson, especially if you don't get a Tyree Wilson. I don't know what Mel's thinking here. Why wouldn't you grab BJ Ojulari? Last pick here, he only did 2 rounds, but the final pick for number 62 is Jartavius Martin, the defensive back out of Illinois. Outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, I think there were a lot of better options here, but curious to know what you guys think. Did Mel hit this one? What were the gradings? I know a lot of you guys on the poll that I posted on the channel listed it as a C or even a D. That seems to be the consensus, so sounds like the majority feels like this was a miss, but let me know what you guys think. All right, let's talk about the division. So the Dallas Cowboys have let it be known who they don't want the Philadelphia Eagles, who they don't want us to take. And you see, the 2023 NFL Draft, things Dallas Cowboys fans will not want to see their division rivals do. This is from RJ Ochoa from the SB Nation blog and the boys. They flat out tell you what they don't want Philly to do. But what's a really big takeaway is, as far as the short term is concerned, there is perhaps no pick that would make the 2 games Dallas will play against them even more difficult than if they were to land Texas running back Bijan Robinson. The level of efficiency associated with taking Robinson at 10 overall could certainly be debated, but there is no doubt that he would make their offense, which is already very good, better in their attempt to run it back. He goes on to say, what's more is that the Eagles are likely to limit or at least mitigate the amount of damage that Jalen Hurts has taken in the ground game, and there is no player that could help alleviate the workload in the way that Robinson could. Again, this would be a bit of a tunnel vision pick, but it would be a very good one. I agree, and you've watched this show enough to know I am all for the Bijan Robinson pick. There's some arguments that can be made on either side, but I think that what RJ is mentioning there, it scares Dallas to death. It scares a lot of teams to death because the offense is a very good one. And you add Bijan Robinson and you are telling people just try to stop us because they won't be able to. And you put Bijan Robinson in this position, you're alleviating from Jalen Hurts like RJ says there. But I want to take you guys, obviously me being in Dallas, a little bit of a look at behind the scenes. So earlier this week on 105.3 The Fan, which is the local favorite radio station in Dallas, Brian Broaddus and several of the radio personalities were mentioning how Dallas is scared that Philly may get Bijan Robinson and the potential that the team would have if they were to get a player of that caliber.
Brian Baldinger on the Love of the Star podcast, and he was talking about how excited Philadelphia would be at 10. I asked him about that. It's like, how can one franchise be so excited about it and then one franchise be so scared? Baldy says, he lives there in Philly, and he says they're lining up.
They're gung-ho about it.
They're gung-ho about, let's go get Bijan Robinson.
Anytime you start to see your division rival get a little bit squeamish, I think that's a good sign because you've all probably seen it. I have on Twitter. They like Bijan Robinson, and they haven't been shy to post about Bijan Robinson working out with Micah Parsons. As you're watching there, Law Nation Sports was the one who posted, but they're very excited. Hey, Bijan Robinson is working out with our guy. He's working out with our player. Maybe he's going to come to the Cowboys. You don't fake it and say you're excited about a player that way if you're really not hoping that your team lands them. I think it's funny. Always when you see a division rival starting to doubt or question, oh my gosh, could Howie actually shock us? But we'll see, obviously, in 2 weeks what Howie does. You know I'm in favor of it, but I'm telling you, this team will be unstoppable if they get Bijan. Let's keep it within the NFC East, and man, oh man, what a day for the Giants yesterday. If you didn't catch it, Saquon Barkley won't be signing the franchise tag before the Giants' offseason program starts. The reports were that first came out that New York star running back Saquon Barkley does not plan to sign his franchise tender before the team's offseason program begins Monday, according to Newsday and ESPN's Adam Schefter. And if you don't recall, Giants owner John Mara had said previously that he really hopes that Saquon Barkley is a Giant for life. So they had made it a priority, or seemingly made it a priority, to get him signed. But now it sounds like that's not actually going to happen, or at least the two sides are very far apart. Now they still have a decent amount of time. They have until July 15th to get a deal done, where at that point, if that doesn't happen, Saquon has to play under the franchise tag, and we'll see if he's actually too excited about that. But you take a look where the disconnect is. General manager Joe Schoen has repeatedly stated that the Giants would prefer a long-term contract for Barkley, who reportedly declined the team's offer last November of a deal worth approximately $12 million per year. Sources told ESPN's Jordan Ronan earlier this offseason that a deal worth $14 million annually could have been a range Barkley considered acceptable. Barkley also told Ronan at the end of the 2022 season that he was hoping to avoid the franchise tag. Okay, so yes, you're hoping to avoid the franchise tag, and I don't knock Saquon Barkley because yes, he's trying to make as much money as possible, especially for a running back, which we all know running backs do not usually have very long careers, so he's hoping to get a long-term deal done so he can get a bigger contract, play a little bit longer, recoup as much funds as he can. But that's a decent disconnect. You've got $2 million per year where the teams seem to be off, and the franchise tag was slapped on Saquon Barkley, but you got to think the Giants seem to have been suggesting or hoping that they would get a deal done, and now that they haven't, it's just nice, again, to see your NFC division rivals getting anxious or a little bit concerned, maybe. And that wasn't the only bad news, or good news, however you want to look at it. Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence also will not report to the team's offseason program on Monday due to his unresolved contract situation. As P. Leonard NYDN reported, Adam Schefter's the one with a tweet here. That's another name. So the former first round pick from 2019, the defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, is also apparently in contract negotiations or stalls. It's funny to see this, and again, there's lots more time, so maybe they'll get something worked out, but it's never a great look or a great dynamic whenever GMs and owners cannot get a deal done with a player or a player of certain magnitude like a Saquon Barkley or a Dexter Lawrence, because both of those players are Pro Bowlers and played at a very high level last season. So I kind of love the drama. As far as what I'm seeing, the Eagles are the one organization that's kind of keeping this in-house. We're taking care of our negotiations. Yes, there's the Jalen Hurts contract that needs to get done, but I'm not concerned about that, especially because Jalen's really not a diva and he seems to be head down focused on getting the work done. So after a day like that, the Giants sound like they could use a drink, and maybe a stiff drink, perhaps some Eagles tears. What am I talking about? So Eagles tears came out yesterday or a couple days ago now, but if you didn't catch it, the Kansas City Chiefs are pretty petty. Maybe that's not surprising because of Juju Smith-Schuster and what he did, all of his antics and the A.J. Brown back and forth, the beef there on TikTok. But if you didn't catch it, the Kansas City Chiefs have an official, unofficial milk brand that was based off of them. So a Kansas City-based milk company has began producing Eagles tears, a milk batch poking fun at the Eagles and the city of Philadelphia. And you take a look at the picture, it's pretty crazy. And like I say, it's very petty for an organization that, yeah, you won the Super Bowl. And I don't really recall many players or fans or anyone giving the Chiefs a whole lot of flack for anything. Just a congratulations. Yep, you won. Obviously, we were frustrated with the holding call, but there wasn't a whole lot to be upset about. Now, yeah, it's in the day and age where you can make a profit off of just about anything. So maybe kudos to the milk company for capitalizing on such a brand like this, but Eagles tears, really? I don't know what to make of it. It doesn't really bother me that much, but it's just classless. It's a little tasteless, pun maybe intended, but I don't know. Okay, back to the Eagles. There's obviously been some visits and more rumors of visits, but the most recent and kind of polarizing topic here is that UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson is scheduled to visit with the Eagles. And you see the tweet from Aaron Wilson, so he reported it first here, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be one of those visits. And it's interesting because, yeah, obviously Jalen Hurts is the man here, so you're questioning, is that really necessary? Should we be viewing a quarterback or taking a look at one? Howie Roseman has said before he wants to be a quarterback factory, and if we reverse this to whenever we drafted Jalen Hurts, myself and probably a lot of us thought that was a terrible mistake to draft Jalen Hurts in the second round when we felt we had our franchise quarterback or a big deal had just been signed with a Carson Wentz. So this is possibly a looking ahead into the future and salvaging things just in case you need another guy, but I don't know what sense it makes, especially if you're going to try to draft him with the picks you already have, because he won't be available or likely won't be available in the 7th round, and I think it would be too early to take him with a 3rd round selection. Perhaps if Howie's planning on trading back and you acquire maybe a late 4th or even a 5th round and he's still available, but a lot of mocks have Dorian Thompson-Robinson going in like the 3rd round. So I'm not in favor of this if you select him that early in the 3rd round, especially the lack of draft capital, other positions you need to fill. Doesn't really seem feasible and logical, quite honestly, but want to know what you guys think. Is this something that you're in favor of? I think he's a great scheme fit, but to be able to draft him here, I mean, what round seems realistic and would you be in favor of if the Birds took him? Appreciate you guys joining, especially last night with the live show. Really had a lot of fun with Thomas Mott. They're going to be giving away a jersey on draft night. So many more things to come. Be looking forward to. I'm going to have a mock draft probably on Sundays whenever I'll post that. But whenever we talk about the schedule, we'll be looking ahead for that. Also, a live show tomorrow night with Bird Gang 31, so be on the lookout for that probably on his channel there. But appreciate you guys joining as always. Until next time, I'm Josh Davis, and this has been the Philly Special.